All right, so let's talk about this beef between Nick Fuentes and Charlie Kirk, because while it's fun to watch, it's a microcosm of what's actually going on in the conservative movement. And I want to talk about that in this video, and I want to go into detail about why this is happening. You know, we love the beef. It's fun. It's entertaining. But they're actually, if you dig down to the bottom of this, the conservative movement is changing, and it's going through rapid changes, and that is what's causing all of this to happen. This just happens to be what's publicly being displayed. So basically what's happening is you have traditional conservatives lashing out at what the conservative movement has now become. So being a conservative used to mean you are conserving, and it still means that to a certain extent, right? You're conserving something. That's what it means to be a conservative. But the left has convinced the majority of conservatives, especially the ones in power like Charlie Kirk and a lot of these people that we see all of the time, they've convinced a lot of these conservatives that being pro-tradition, and I'm not going to get into like specifics as to what it is. That's another video. Pro-tradition, pro-conservative values, things of that nature, that's racist, sexist, homophobic, and all that. And so that scares a lot of these conservatives in power. So they've said, oh, we're changing, we're evolving. Being a conservative is no longer about conserving anything. What it means is that we're pro-limited government and limited spending, which would be fine except for the fact that they're only pro-limited government. They're not pro-limited spending. When conservatives take power, they spend just as much, if not more, than the Democrats. They just spend it on different things. And by being limited government, you're now just allowing the left to completely take control of the government and have their way with America. And that's pissing off a lot of these traditional conservatives, because they're like, look, we're trying to conserve something here. We're trying to preserve. And that's all being eradicated because the mainstream conservatives are doing nothing to prevent it. They don't care. As long as they're getting their bag, as long as Charlie Kirk's making his money, as long as his ambassadors are making their money, they're not interested in actually doing anything to preserve it. But Turning Point USA presents themselves, and again, I don't agree with everything Nick Fuentes says. I like Nick Fuentes. I think he's a good guy. Don't agree with everything he says. I think Turning Point has done some good, and I don't agree with them. I'm pretty much neutral on this issue, although I am on the side of the traditional conservatives. I will put that out there. But traditional conservatives are upset because these mainstream conservatives, they present themselves as being we're the people fighting on the front lines against the progressive liberals and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, you're not. Has anything improved in this country since Turning Point USA has gained their power? No, it's gotten worse. It just continues to the progressives are literally just slowly pushing back conservative values, conservative traditions, and turning us into the socialist progressive America that Turning Point USA always fearmongers against. That's what we're turning into, because the conservatives and the mainstream conservatives have no solution to dealing with liberals taking control of the government. They don't know what to do about it. They're like, because they're afraid. So the left uses the government as a tool. They view the government as a tool. They say, okay, we've got this government. Let's just force our progressive policies down the throats of conservatives, because what are they going to do about it? Nothing. They'll complain. Oh, I don't like it. I don't like transgender reading time. I don't like gay marriage. I don't like abortion. I don't like, transgender bathrooms and things like that. They'll say they don't like it, but then they can't do anything about it, because they think, the conservatives, that if they start using the government as a tool and start doing the same thing, that it'll lead to some sort of like, it's going to lead to a slippery slope of abuse of power and things like that. Well, what's going on right now? Like, have you really avoided, like, congratulations, because you've definitely avoided the government abusing its power by being limited government, right? Like, no, like, the government still abuses its power. It's just doing it in favor of the left instead of in favor of the right, because the right is like blinded by the fact that being pro small government is somehow going to save the country, which it's not. So you've got these conservatives that are breaking away from the mainstream conservatism because it doesn't represent them anymore. Mainstream conservatism has become libertarianism, which is everything that mainstream conservatism is now: limited government, limited spending, and being socially liberal. And you can't be socially liberal and expect your country to remain conservative fiscally, because politics is downstream from culture. So if your culture is sick, your politics becomes infected. And we're seeing that happen every single day. And so these conservatives are saying, you know what, I've had enough with this. We're going to try to make some changes. We're going to try to, which I am totally in favor of this. I started talking about stuff like this a long time ago, and nobody was on my side. Like I was saying, look, Turning Point, this is just a facade. Like there's no actual progress being made through Turning Point USA. And people were like, well, you can't say that. Turning Point USA is doing way more than you, which, they're out there doing their events. But again, like I said, nothing is happening. Turning Point USA isn't changing anything. We're making conservatives on college campuses. What do you make? They're not real conservatives. You're not actually making conservatives. You're not producing real conservatives. You're producing libertarians. And you're producing socially liberal, limited government conservatives, it's just like that can't work, like I said. So I love to see it. I like to see this. And I think it's going to lead to a better place. I think we're actually going to see conservatism slowly shift back. I'm noticing a trend because I'm on top of this, and I'm noticing a trend that we're slowly starting to shift back towards traditional conservatism, which I love to see. So anyway, that is my rundown of what's going on behind the scenes of the beef, and it's interesting. So let me know in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed the video, like, share, whatever. Thank you guys so much. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.